Hi guys, my name is Beth. Welcome back to my channel. Today I have a book review for you. Today I am reviewing this beauty, Dumplin by Julie Murphy. Alright, let's get right into it. If you see me looking down, it's because I have my written review here and I have actually written out or typed out rather, many quotes from the book just to embody some of the points that I'm making, and yeah. Willow Dean Opal Dixon is a self-proclaimed fat girl who is a dedicated Dolly Parton fan that lives in a small town in Texas. So Willow Dean comes off as quite confident in the beginning of the book. I'll read you a quote. "But that's me. I'm fat. It's not a cuss word, it's not an insult, at least not when I say it. So I always figure, why not get it out of the way?" Her confidence begins to crumble when she starts to have this relationship with a very attractive and fit co-worker of hers whose name is Bo. She can't get past the idea that the two of them just don't fit together, and she begins to have insecurities that she had not really felt before. I want to read a couple quotes from the book that really portray these feelings. "My mind betrays my body. The reality of him touching me, of him touching my back fat and overflowing waistline, it makes me want to gag." And then another. "So I always reach back and hoist myself up, because the thought of him trying to lift me and failing makes me cringe every time." And then also, "When his fingers trail down my chest and across my stomach, I suck in." Which is stupid, because it never makes a difference in pictures, and I doubt it does now. I can really relate to that as a bigger person. When people try to take pictures of me, I suck in as if that's going to make some kind of difference, and it probably doesn't. I feel like if I were in the same situation in a new relationship and someone were to trail their fingers down my stomach, which is a very vulnerable area, especially for a bigger person, I would probably do that as an instinct also. So I could really kind of relate to the situation that's going on there. There comes a point in the book where Bo wants to be official, and he's actually proud of Will and he wants to show her off, but she cannot get past the feeling of not wanting people to say or think, how in the world did someone like her get someone like him? She just can't stand that feeling of them just not fitting together. So this book is a romance, but it also focuses on other relationships that Will has with other characters in the book. For example, her Aunt Lucy, who died 6 months at the beginning of the book, she died of a heart attack. She was 500 pounds. Her Aunt Lucy was like a second parent to her. She was someone she could go to talk to about things that her mother, who was very concerned with appearances and not quite proud of Will's weight, to talk to her about things she couldn't talk to with her mother. And throughout the book, she's grieving the loss of her aunt. And another part of this is this pageant. It says so in the premise that she joins a pageant. Well, this bluebonnet pageant is super big in her small town. It like puts her small town on the map, and her mom is a former beauty queen of this pageant, and she also helps to run it. So every year when this pageant rolls around, her house is filled with props and dresses and all these other types of things that have to do with the pageant that her mom is working on, and she is closed off from that because, well, she doesn't really want to be a part of it, but also her mom has never suggested, hey, you should run when you should register when you're 15 or anything like that, because of her size. It's just, she's not that type of girl. And that's actually something that this book addresses. When Lucy was alive, she was kind of an escape for Will from all of that inside of her own house. She says here about Lucy's room, "All my life the pageant has invaded every facet of my world except this room, because in the world I lived in with Lucy, no one cared about crowns or sashes." There's a very interesting relationship between mother and daughter in this book. Will's mom is actually the one who calls her Dumplin, and it is a name out of love, and you can tell that, but it's kind of a name that Will actually initially resents. But her mother is very focused on appearances and manners and all these things that Will just doesn't really care about, and so there's a rift between mother and daughter. And another part of it is that they both miss Lucy, but in their own way, and Lucy and her sister, I can't remember the mother's name, but Lucy and Will's mom would often butt heads over how to raise Will, and it's just that kind of dynamic. And after Lucy was gone, they kind of have to deal with that. Will also has this wonderful relationship with her best friend Ellen, but in the book at one point they start to drift apart because Will is having a sort of identity crisis. First, she's feeling these insecurities about her body and Beau, and she also has this sort of identity issue, and I'm going to read a quote from the book that really describes that. A really long time ago, I decided who I wanted to be, and I've been acting like her, whoever she is, since. But the act is fading, and I don't know if I like the person beneath it all. I wish there were some kind of magic words that could bridge the gap between the person I am and the one I wish I could be. I feel this so much. I feel like I have thought and felt these things so many times in my life, so I could really relate to that quote and to that part of the book. The way she describes the reality of being a bigger person is very real and authentic without coming off as too whiny, in my opinion, and I can definitely relate to these descriptions because I've experienced them. And I'll read a quote here. I'm all about the quotes today. This is referring to her Aunt Lucy's coat. The coat was black and drab and obviously purchased for the sake of utility without thought of fashion. It's the type of sacrifice you make when you're a bigger person, and that is just true. You often have to sacrifice fashion for the way things fit, and oftentimes the most fashionable stores don't even carry bigger sizes, and it's just the truth of being a bigger person. And there are a couple other situations she mentions. She mentions looking at chairs that have armrests and wondering whether her hips will fit into it. And also later on in the book, she talks about the chub rub, which is slang for the chafing that a person who is heavier has between their legs. So I felt like that was very real, very authentic, something I could relate to, and a little peek into the mind's eye of situations that a bigger person goes through all the time. So it's not a spoiler when I say this, because it says in the premise that Will enters this beauty pageant, this pageant that is just pushed her out of her own life all these years. She does enter, and I feel like it is a pivotal moment of the book, and it's the one that really hits home. And she actually chooses to do it because she finds a registration form from like the early 90s in her Aunt Lucy's things, and she discovers that her Aunt Lucy had actually wanted to register and be a part of the pageant, but she didn't feel like she was good enough. And I want to read a quote from during the time that Will has registered for this pageant. "I'm doing this for Lucy and for me. I'm ready to go back to being the version of myself I was before Beau. I'm entering this pageant because there's no reason I shouldn't. I'm doing this because I want to cross the line between me and the rest of the world." At this point in the book, I started crying because it reminded me that no matter what you look like, being a bigger person, or like there's a character who has different teeth and a character who has legs that are two different sizes, so she needed special shoes to walk. No matter what you look like, there's no reason that you can't do the same things that other people can do. There's no reason there should be the line between us and them, and there is that line. Only certain people can join this beauty pageant, and she decided that she was going to cross cross that line because there's no reason that she shouldn't be a part of a beauty pageant. And at one point, there was a character who said to her, she didn't say to her, but she said to someone else, she said, it's really brave that Will is entering this pageant. And Will thought to herself, I don't want it to be brave. I want it to be normal. There's a sort of love triangle in this story as well. You have Beau and you have Will, and they have feelings for each other, but for most of the book, Will is pushing Beau away because of her own insecurities. But there's another character named Mitch, and Mitch is a bigger guy, but he is bigger in an acceptable way because he's an athlete, he's a football player, but still Will feels more comfortable with people seeing the two of them together in a romantic way, even though Will doesn't really feel romantic feelings for him. But Mitch does have romantic feelings for Will, and she kind of leads him on, which is kind of a character flaw, I think, but I like that she has a character flaw, and she says and thinks things that she probably shouldn't say and think, because it makes her a real person. She's not a flat character. I love the writing and the plot and the characters of the story. I definitely love the dynamic between mother and daughter. I thought that the writing of the mother and of Will were both really well done. The friendship between Ellen and Will is also very good. I just love the story. I can relate to it. I just enjoyed it immensely. Those are my thoughts on Dumplin. I give it 5 out of 5 stars. I would definitely recommend this book. Alright guys, thank you so much for watching. If you liked it, please give me a like. If you're new here, please subscribe. And I will see you in the next video. Bye!